Welcome back, guys. 3 weeks of the NFL season in the books here. We move on to week 4. Hard to believe after this upcoming week, a quarter of the NFL season will already be done. And an important game here kicks us off on Thursday night in the NFC East between the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins. This game will take place down in Washington. Both teams at 1-2. The loser's going to fall behind the other 3 teams in the division. So a big game from that standpoint here in the NFC East. Both these teams have been stopping the run well. Okay, so what team can get a running game going? Both these teams want to run the ball. Rashad Jennings with over 120 yards last week. Alfred Morris, and I say it seems like I say it almost every week, under the radar, always puts up numbers and always puts up a pretty high yards per carry average when given the opportunity. Okay, which team can establish the run against opposing defenses that have been pretty good against the run so far this season? I think that's going to be something to watch. Also, the Washington Redskins receivers versus the New York Giants secondary. The Giants secondary, led by Antro Roll at the safety spot, Prince Amukamara at a corner, and Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie at a corner. You know, these guys have played very well this season. All right, and I look at the strength of the Redskins being their offensive weapons and the strength of the Giants being their secondary sort of clashing here. Who wins that battle? I think is going to be very interesting to watch. Okay, the Redskins, a lot of their, on the defensive side of the ball now, a lot of their pressure and a lot of their big defensive statistics were certainly padded in that game against Jacksonville. The other 2 games they've played, most notably last week versus the Eagles, they definitely underwhelmed from a defensive standpoint. So that Giants offense, have they taken the next step forward? They established the ground game with Rashad Jennings. All right, Eli Manning threw for a high percentage last week, was able to find Victor Cruz and company. It looks like they have a consistent tight end now in Larry Donnell as well, something that, you know, this offense has really been void of here the last couple seasons, really since Kevin Boss left. If you remember him, seems like he was on the Giants ages ago. But, you know, he's a guy that, Larry Donnell's a guy, looks like he's solidifying that position. The offensive line looked a lot better last week. Can that offensive line develop consistency? Give Eli Manning time to throw, and is Eli Manning turning the corner in this offense? I think we'll go a long way. When you talk about a second game in a short week, do they get into a flow? Are they able to expose what I think, even with D'Angelo Hall, was a very weak Redskins secondary? Can they exploit that secondary? That remains to be seen here in week 4. Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to be up against it this week. I don't think it's going to be as easy for him to throw as it has been the last 2 weeks versus the Eagles and Jacksonville, respectively, here. So I think it's going to be on that Washington offensive line. Can they run the ball? Can they control the clock? Because I think the Giants secondary is going to rise to the occasion in this one against, you know, the likes of whether it be a Niles Paul at tight end or a Deshaun Jackson at receiver, and obviously Pierre Garçon as well. We'll see how this all unfolds. I really look at the home and away teams in these matchups on Thursday night. I think it means a lot. I think it means a little bit less because geographically in this one, these 2 teams are so close together. I do know it's still inconvenient for the Giants to have to travel, period, on a Thursday night. But I like what the Giants did last week, and most notably, I like that Giants secondary against the Washington receivers. And I like how the Giants have played on rush defense all year, limiting their opponents. And they played against some decent running backs. So I like the Giants plus 3.5 here on the road in Washington. Guys, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the comments. Hit me up on Twitter as well. Be sure to subscribe. Preview every game every week. Always talking the news of the day in the NFL. Couldn't do it without the subscribers. Almost up to 4,000 now. Thanks as always for listening, and have a great night.